Hello, I'm Kim Goldsmith. Welcome to From the Ground Up, a series of marketing videos for direct-to-market producers put together by Greater Sydney Local Land Services. I'm a professional communicator of 3 decades of experience in marketing communications, media, public and community relations across rural and regional New South Wales. In this first part of this 3-part video series, we're going to look at just what is marketing. Some people think it's selling, others think it's advertising, but as you'll find, it is so much more. We'll look at the importance of market research and where that feeds into the need for a plan. So, have you got a plan? We're going to finish off at the end of each video module with a checklist of actions for you to follow up on, and by the time we get to the 3rd video, you'll have enough information to put together a quick 1-page marketing plan that gives you some direction and puts everyone in your business on the same page. So let's get started. How much have you thought about what you do is marketing? You'll be surprised to find out it's basically everything you do in your business and outside it, particularly if you're the face of the brand. So from the first social media post you make in the morning to the last one at night, you are on show and marketing your brand and business. Now, we've perhaps jumped ahead for a few people. Hands up who has a business plan. I don't mean one in your head either. Something on paper that other people can read and understand. It doesn't need to be an essay, but it does need to exist. In the front of your workbooks, I've included some resources with links to business plan templates that you might want to look at to get started. Why? You need a business plan before you can start your marketing plan, because the goals you set for your business must inform your marketing plan. Otherwise, you have these 1 or 2 plans swinging in the wind, not talking to each other. They should be joined at the hip. Your marketing goals and key performance indicators need to meet the objectives of your business plan. They need to be SMART goals, that is, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. And how you'll achieve this is in your action plan and operational plans. Have you heard of the 7 marketing Ps that in a former life were known as the 4 marketing Ps? Your marketing mix should be unique to your business. Keep in mind, not all the Ps will be relevant to all businesses, and often it's the combination of Ps that makes it tailored to the needs of your business. Again, at the heart of this mix is the need to meet your marketing goals, measured by your key performance indicators, that in turn lead back to meeting your business objectives. If you're not achieving this, then you need to relook at the mix, your market research, your target markets, or a combination of all these. So the 4 key Ps are product, place, price, and promotion. The detail in the mix of the top 4 comes from your market research and really knowing your market, which is the topic of our 2nd video. Interestingly, there's an alternate 4 Cs to think about in terms of putting the customer at the centre of the mix rather than your business, that looks at the mix being about customer value, cost, convenience, and communication. The additional 3 that have been included over the years are people, process, and physical environment. For those selling direct into cafes, restaurants, or at a farmer's market, maybe the physical environment isn't a big deal. But if you have customers coming to you, you need to think about this. As it says in the slide, process is more relevant to services, but people is one that you should be thinking about, particularly in terms of customer service and culture. Does it represent your values and the brand well? I'm going to simplify things a little for you at this point by looking at the 5WH framework. That's not to say you can't go back and work through things like the 7 Ps or the 4 Cs, but this simple outline will get you asking the right questions as you go forward. The first question we start with is why. This should be evident in your business plan. What is it you believe in and value? What is your motivation for doing things the way you do? Sometimes this can inform your marketing plan, in fact becomes central to it as the philosophy flows through. Sometimes not. It'll depend on your why. The next bit is the what. What is your product and what are its benefits? Remember, in marketing, we're about solving people's problems, meeting needs, wants, and desires. What does your product offer that does these things? A tip here, you'll also need to know more about who your audience is to really answer these questions, but again, that's for the next video. Finally, the when, where, and how are the action plan. Sound simple? One of the things you might come across when looking at business and marketing plans is what's often called a situational analysis. It's the all essential outcomes of market research and looking at the business environment you're operating in. Some of the tools you might use to create a picture of your business environment include SWOT analysis, pest analysis, and these are issues pertaining to the political environment, environmental issues, social issues, and technology. They're external factors that may or may not impact on your business and marketing. SWOTs are looking at internal factors, your strengths and weaknesses, and the external ones, such as opportunities and threats. You might look at using the pest analysis, for example, in the opportunities and threats part of the SWOT. I hope that makes sense. It's worth spending half an hour to an hour doing this. It can throw up ideas to work with, and particularly when looking at how to convert weaknesses into strengths and threats into opportunities. Let's say you did a competitor analysis and your competitors were listed under your threats. The idea of perhaps looking at a collaboration with those you currently consider your competitors might be one way of addressing issues of seasonality or supply shortage. The final part of the market research leg is to look more closely at your target market, not just fleetingly, but in depth, so that you get to know who they really are. The more you know, the easier your decision making will be and the better your marketing mix. So to recap on the 5WH framework, you now need to work out why you're doing what you do. So work through this in your workbook on page 5. Then there's the what. What are you offering? Its benefits, value proposition, what problems is it solving for your customers? What expectations do they have of it? Look at the spectrum in this slide and work out where your product sits. There are expectations that go with each part of the spectrum. Finally, what must you do to make your product and customer relationship different to that of your competitors? If you've done your competitor analysis, you'll find this easier to pinpoint. One other part of the situational analysis and marketing plan is the marketing asset and resource list. You need to create a checklist of what you're currently using and what you may need to explore further to be where your customers are. It has to be strategic, so ask yourself why you're using that channel or platform as you go. You can't sit in your comfort zone if your customers aren't there with you. You'll need to find out how and where they gather their information from so that you can ensure you're operating in the same space. All food for thought as we now hear about the new business venture and marketing efforts of Mendoran-based cheese producers Pip Archer and Deb Kiem of Blue Sky Cheese. For all the things they haven't started with in their business, they certainly have their values and why nailed. I know that having read your story on Facebook, it seems to have come from a personal passion rather than any hard-headed decision that there was a gap in the market. Would that be right?
Yes, yeah, that's spot on. I mean, now we know there's a gap in the market, but that's come afterwards. Yeah. Now we know we're the only cheese producer in the Central West. So that's just a little bit of a bonus because it was all just begun on passion.
Do you think it would have made any difference to how you set yourselves up if it had been different and you'd sort of identified that gap first?
I don't think so because we always wanted to be small and handmade. We didn't really want to be large and competitive, and I think we were sort of like subconsciously from the beginning gearing our product towards
family and friends.
Yeah, family, friends, small, handmade.
Maybe a market occasionally.
Yeah. I don't think it would have made a difference if we'd been in the middle of Sydney. We would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
So did you do any market research?
Not really.
I tell you, the reason we found out that we were the only one was because when the DPI came to inspect our factory, and we had a lot of help from a girl at the Coonabarabran Shire in the beginning to say, well, if you're going to do this, you actually need to do this, this and this, and which we knew sort of some of it, but we didn't know all of it. But he was the one that when he came over to accredit us, he said, they've had to fly me to Sydney to do a course because there's no other cheese making facilities at all in the Central West. When we realised that, and when we had our launch on the 1st of December that we got 100 people to, which was incredible, I think it was just like the wow factor. And we didn't realise we had it until we were sort of past it and looking back.
That's true, yeah.
One of the things we talk about in marketing is identifying your target market and then building market or buyer personas within that. You've described your family and friends as being those that you would imagine marketing your cheese to. So does that make it a little bit easier to have people around you who are familiar to you when you're sort of looking at placing or distributing the cheese?
Oh, absolutely. Like, Pip has been in the area for a long, long, long time and has a lot of connections. So there's a network already there, which we've been able to use to our advantage as far as spreading the word goes. And our family and friends were our initial target market. We were relying on them to spread the word, but now we're realising that we can actually we can pinpoint our target market as those people that are wanting to buy artisan premium product and something that's really, really local and pure food.
But in so saying that, you can't pick whether someone's going to buy cheese or not. So someone might walk past and you think, oh, they're well dressed. Oh, they'll probably buy some cheese. And yet you'll have someone, little old man, come over on a walker. Well, I'll tell you who spends the money. It's not who you think.
Yeah.
And so we've had to sort of unveil some of those thoughts of well, go to this sort of genre because it's actually not true.
Yeah. It surprises us.
It does, continually.
Are you doing some market research along the way then and actually filing that information away to make better decisions in the future?
Not really. Only subconsciously.
Only we talk about it.
Just chatting, yeah.
And we'll often pick up on something together. Like Deb will come back and say, oh, did you notice such and such? And I'll go, yes, I did. Like we've both picked up on something that's...
As far as doing it in a statistical, analytical kind of way, no.
We don't really do any data collection.
We more work straight from the...
I think the only data, well, not even data collection, but the only decisions that we've made for our business really have in choosing where we're going to sell our cheese, we've chosen the farmers market because of the type of people that would be at the farmers market are more in tune with our business. And the same with where we're retailing in Dubbo at the Daily Scoop is very in tune with our business. Like we just...
It's also in tune with our philosophy.
Yes.
It's important to us is that
very important.
Our philosophy and our ethos is all about, recycling and caring for the planet and having pure foods that are unadulterated.
Yeah.
And those kinds of shops are the ones that we want to see our cheeses in rather than, just the fast food cafes or the supermarkets.
So you'll never see us in Woolies or Coles or IGA or anything. Yeah, we'll be definitely looking for marketing potential where there's people that think the same as we do.
If you haven't already taken a break to think about what we've covered so far, to do some market research or to start working in your workbook, you can do so at the end of this video. That's the beauty of video. You can stop and come back whenever you like. The questions in this slide are just some of the questions you need to answer to take things forward from here. You might need to take some time out to start working on finding the answers to these things. Here's a short animated summary that covers some of the key points about this video so far. What are you thinking now that you've got this far? Where are you at, and how does this apply to you in your business at this point in time? Be honest with yourself. This isn't the time to gloss over things if you want to mature in your business and grow. Now hit your workbook and fill in any blanks that still remain. Work your way through part 1 before starting the next video, which will tackle who is your target market. Make a note of the things along the way that you need to know more about, or questions you might have for your marketing support or to Google. There's a wealth of information online and lots of marketing support groups on social media, particularly in groups on Facebook. A final recap of the key questions under the 5WH framework before we wrap up this video. Good luck with your planning, documentation and market research. A few hard hours up front will put you in a stronger position to make decisions as you develop, consolidate or scale up your business. And to answer a question that often pops up, how often should I update my plans? As often as you need to. Make them working documents that you can frequently revise, refer to and amend as needed. There's no point sticking to something that isn't working, providing you aren't changing your mind every second week on a whim. Use SMART goals when creating your objectives. Remember, they're specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and timely. Thanks for joining me. I'll catch you in video 2.